Hello and welcome. I'm Gary Shipe. Thanks for listening in as we continue to talk with leaders in our community. Well, with us this morning are a few people from Washington State's government. It's Betty Lochner. She is the director of Washington's Guaranteed Education Tuition Program, better known as GET, and Ryan Betts. He is the Marketing and Communications Director. Ryan and Betty, welcome. Thanks for being here this morning.
Thank you. It's
Thanks
great
for
to
having
be
us
here.
on.
Well, I'm glad to have you here. I love talking about this for a couple of different reasons, but I'd like to start out talking about because it's the future. You know, when a child is born, or even before, parents and grandparents, families, they're thinking about, they dream. They're talking about the future of this child, and they see things, potential, And a lot of these days, a college education is like got to be part of that dream. When we think of this child, beyond the rock and the baby in our arms, we're thinking about way down the line and what they might be able to do and where they could be when they're an adult. And so if we talk about the future and potential, college education has just got to be there. And so I kind of like to start with how important college is and then what college tuition is and has done over the last several years, maybe the last decade or two, if you're able to pull all that together. It's kind of a big, wide question.
No,
but
that's a great one. Well, yeah, I mean, college education is something that we all dream of for our kids, and it really starts with that. It starts with having, wanting the best for our kids and for our society and creating educated learners. The new economy is talking about jobs that are 2/3 of the jobs are going to require some post-high school education. So, it's kind of even just a basic thing, but also what saving for college can do for families is really help families realize those dreams and their goals and start really young saying, we're taking away those barriers for you. We're going to help you achieve that dream. What do you want to be? Where do you want to go to school? And taking away the barrier of the cost of education. And really what we're all about is trying to help families move from a debt model of paying for college to a savings model.
A debt model. Yeah, I mean,
which is what a lot of people have done. And with the rising cost of college, if you borrow $1 to go to college in student loans, which is the main financial aid package that's out there for most of us, you're going to end up paying back about $2 by the time you repay that debt.
Oh.
So it's, every dollar you save is going to be $1 or $2 that you don't have to pay in the future. And the younger you start, the more time you have to save, and the more chance you'll have to have the earnings on that grow.
Yeah, so I love that this is a state program. People love to complain about state governments and bureaucracies, but this program helps us. I talked about the dream and the future. Helps us achieve that dream for so many people, and it's wonderful. And it's got a lot of different aspects I want to talk about. But I just liked that part about the debt model that we all sort of based on a lot of.
Right.
I don't know what the number is lately, but it's been in the news about how so many college students start life. I mean, that's when their life really is starting for them in debt and kind of behind the eight ball.
The national debt for student loans is over $1 trillion now.
Each?
Yeah, maybe. But it hit that huge mark, and it's
like $20,000 and $30,000 and $40,000 people start in debt when they're in their middle 20s. I mean, that sounds staggering to think about it.
Yeah, we were just at a meeting last week where we learned the 2015 graduates are graduating with an average of $30,000 in student loans.
$30,000.
So, and you look here in the state of Washington, we have 800,000 plus student loan borrowers just in our state. So that's about 10 to 12% of our state population is carrying some form of student loan debt.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Wow. So the GET, I love this, education tuition, and the G is guaranteed, and I want to get to that too, but I want to stay on the E part, the education part,
sure.
And the T part, this tuition. So as education in our state has, and it's been in the news too, we talk about the tuition. It's been rising and rising at what rate over the last, I don't know, how far do you got this statistic stuck in your head over the last 10 years, 20 years?
We've got a lot of them, actually.
What do you want?
But, I mean, if you want to go back as far as 30 years, the average has been about 7.5% per year increase. If you look more closely in the last decade, it's a little bit higher, somewhere around 8.5%, 9%. in the last few years, tuition has been pretty flat. It's been the same for the last 3 years. And that's because the legislature's provided some additional funding to our local colleges and institutions, because the previous 4 years, tuition was increasing, somewhere between 13 and 19% per year.
4 years in a row.
And they said, we can't keep doing this to families. And so there's been some reprieve here in the last few years. But I think, like you said, you got to look at the long haul. Over the last 30 years, 7.5%. It's pretty significant.
And so we're talking about the state universities. What is their tuition? It's something like 11,700 or something like?
Exactly. It's about 11,782 at the University of Washington right now. And that includes
That's probably the most expensive one?
That's the most expensive state school, undergraduate state tuition. And that's what our guarantee is tied to.
Right.
We're priced and valued at the highest Washington public undergraduate. Right now, that's the University of Washington. Sometimes it's Washington State University. They're always within a few dollars of each other. So if you buy into the GET program, if you buy future college tuition for your kids, you're basically buying at a future cost. So the example I'll use is if you buy a year of tuition, which is 100 GET units, we call them units. If you had 100 units in your account, when your child went to college, if you buy it now and they go to college in 15, 18 years, you have the value of whatever tuition is when they go to use it, regardless of how much tuition has gone up. So the guarantee is to keep up with tuition inflation at our highest, which is we're the only one in the nation that actually has it tied to the highest instead of an average or some other defined benefit.
Oh, I like that little tidbit. I didn't know that. So now you just mentioned 17, 18 years. You guys have been around now. Like the GET program's 17 or 18 years?
We're in the end of our 17th enrollment.
So if somebody with enough foresight, and a lot of people did, but many, many more now if I'm thinking.
Right.
If somebody bought some right then as a child was being born, that kid is ready to go to college now, right?
Oh, yeah. We have a lot. We have, how many students? 35,000?
Actually, more than that, yeah.
40,000?
A little over 40,000 students have used their GET accounts now to pay for school.
And in every state in the nation and even 4 or 5 countries abroad. So the other unique feature is that you don't have to use it in Washington State. That's been a myth for a long time, is that because it's tied to our schools, the value, you take it just like you would any bank account or checking account, and whatever you have in there, you can use it out of state, in state, public, private, community, trade. If you go somewhere where it's more than what you have in your account, you're going to pay the difference. On the other hand, if you go to a community technical college and you have 100 units, it's going to go a lot further, and you can use it for other eligible expenses like books, housing, room.
This is a great point to keep making. There are so few limitations on this.
Right.
And so just like you said, if my kid ends up, we're talking about that dream again with the newborn, this kid's going to go to Harvard.
Right.
GET units will work there.
They'll work there. That's right.
How easy is that done? And how did, like you've been doing this for 17 years now, has that been easy to spread out and get other universities around the country and world to say, yeah, I accept those?
Oh, everybody. I mean, it is, every state has some kind of a 529 plan, and that's what our program is. It's a 529 prepaid tuition plan. Many states have 529 college savings plan, which is what you think of as the more traditional plan. And every single state that has a plan, you can use them anywhere. They're completely portable.
So states are willing. They got on board with that when they all set them up. Yeah, ours.
Well, that's in the federal rules. So the 529 stands for the IRS tax code that allows for the tax exemption on these accounts. And what that means is that any increased value in your account, so if you put in $10,000 now and then when your child goes to school it's worth $15,000, any increased value you never pay tax on.
Tax
Exempt.
Free. 529, these are college saving tuition plans, and a lot of people do know what that means. 529, if I say 529, a lot of people think that means May 29th. Right?
Well, it also means that too.
But now I want to tie this in. I'm going to be so clever. Coming up this week,
That's
529. Okay,
That's right.
We're in May.
It's our last
May 29th. We're approaching the end of the enrollment period, which is I think the 31st.
Right, last day of the month.
So to highlight that, you guys have tied in with the Mariners, right? Our
That's right.
hometown 9.
There's a national 529 day that's a nationwide awareness of these programs, and every state spends a lot of extra energy in doing something to build awareness for college savings in general. And in our state this year, we're doing for the first time a partnership with the Mariners, and we're actually going to have college savings night at the Mariners. We have tickets available for people to go to our Facebook page or to our website at www.get.wa.gov, and you can sign up to win tickets, and we have a lot of tickets to give away. It's going to be a really fun night.
Okay, so now I have to say that again. People said, now what was that address? It's on the web. It's get.wa.gov.
Right.
A lot of people can remember the Washington State government one.
Right.
Or wa.gov.
Right. get.wa.gov.
All right. And then you do have a Facebook page, facebook.com/guaranteed education tuition.
Correct.
Yeah, and so through either of those, people can find out about this Mariners tickets, either giveaway or if they don't win them, they can buy discounted ones,
yeah,
right?
for $16 you can buy your own. You can buy tickets, and that includes a souvenir T-shirt for the day. It's going to be fun. We're going to have a Hootie, our mascot, with us. It's going to be a great way to spread the word about the importance of saving for college.
College Savings Day around the country, 529.
That's right.
Oh, that's kind of cool. Great. We are talking this morning about Washington's GET program, Guaranteed Education Tuition, with Ryan Betts and Betty Lochner, both from the Washington State GET program. And so we can see this is why it's such an important idea. And you mentioned loans is the way people have been doing this for a long time. Most people end up taking out loans, although these 529s and saving plans have been around. Let's talk about what makes this different than if I want to I can go to my banker, right, or my money guy and say, let's set up a college savings account for my child in a more traditional way. What are the differences, and why is this advantageous, a GET program and buying units over years, and how might that be facilitated and different than a traditional way of saving money for my child or a grandchild?
Yeah. No, and I think the real advantage with GET is that guarantee that you'd mentioned. And
the G part.
The G part, exactly. So, the big thing with GET is that you are making sure that your savings are not outpaced by tuition inflation. We talked a little bit earlier about that 7.5% over the last 30 years growth. If you're investing your money into a standard savings account or someplace else, maybe you have that opportunity to earn more, but there is also that opportunity where it might not keep up with the inflation of tuition. These accounts are specifically set up for that purpose of saving for your kids' education. And so why not ensure that the money you've put aside for your kids' education is going to be there for them for that purpose when they need it? And so that's really where the advantage of GET comes into play, because you're going to get the value of Washington's highest priced university for those units.
And the guarantee part. So what does that mean when someone hears that? They say, oh, you just expect it and it always has made money, or it really is guaranteed against, I don't know, financial collapse and ruin. I don't know. What does the G really mean?
Right. So there's really two parts to the guarantee. One is that it's going to keep up with that highest price school, that the state says no matter how much tuition goes up, whether it's 13%, 19% a year, the value of your account will keep up with that highest price.
You stand by
school.
that. The state stands by the value.
Exactly. And if our program for some reason can't fulfill that financial obligation down the road, we don't have enough money, then the state is required by that guarantee to step in and fulfill that obligation or that promise to you as an account holder.
And when this was set up, that was written into statute in this state?
Correct.
Okay.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's why the legislature is so interested in making sure that the program remains financially sound and solvent, is because they're basically on the hook if it doesn't. So,
and it gets audited all the time, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this is very transparent for people to find out
Absolutely.
about.
You can go on our website and see all of our all of our financials and all of the annual reports. But basically, the money is invested by the state investment board, and then the state actuary also does oversight on the financial modeling and analysis and price setting, and we do set our unit price, reset it every year based on long-term assumptions on what we think tuition is going to do, what we think investments are going to do, what we think purchaser behavior is going to do. Those are really the three main things. So the trick to pricing a prepaid tuition program, that unit cost, is getting those three assumptions pretty accurately. One of those gets out of sync, and which we've seen before when tuition has gone up higher than expected. When the stock market crashed and we had the Great Recession, we've seen some of those assumptions change, and so the program needs to be flexible enough to make changes so that the long-term viability program remains the same. So we do set the price at least once a year. There have been a few times when they've had to adjust it because of changes in the marketplace. But we usually change it in the fall for when our new enrollment year opens. And it's pretty much tied to usually about what tuition's going up. So
okay, so when we talked about the end of the enrollment period at the end of May here, that's when, during this off-season kind of thing, it will be figured out and thought about what the next price break
we wait to see
will
what
be.
the regents are going to set for their tuition, because that's our payout value is whatever they're setting, and then we see what the investment reports are doing, and we see how many contracts we sold, and all of those things go into a huge actuarial analysis that helps inform our policy committee, which is the GET committee, which is really has 5 members. One of them is the state treasurer, one of them is the director of the Office of Financial Management, one of them is the executive director of the Student Achievement Council, and 2 citizen members. And they're the ones that take all of that information, that staff makes recommendations, and they set the price annually. So there's a lot of thought and a lot of long-term, as Ryan said, this is a long-term program.
Yeah.
It's not a program you want to get into if your children are going to go to school in the next 2 or 4, maybe even 6 years. You really want to have time to not have to worry about those things. You put it in, and you know that when you go to use it, that it's going to have kept up with tuition.
These are good things for people to figure out and can count on, especially that when we say guaranteed, it really is, and the state is fully behind this and always has been and always will be, because it's in statute.
Right. They
will.
set it up with those. It's right. It's in statute. It's statutorily backed, and there's only 4 in the nation that have that backing.
Excellent. Well, our guests this morning are Betty Lochner, Director of Washington's GET program, and Ryan Betts. He is the Marketing and Communications Director at the GET program. And I want to now make sure we talk about, all those things are important, but I want to talk about the more fundamental part of getting somebody signed up. Who can do this and how we can get it all done. It's actually easier and easier every year. Before the internet was so widespread and smartphones, everybody is really good at the internet now.
You can enroll online on mobile phones. We've seen people do it. Yeah, it's
you can do
pretty
it online
easy.
pretty quickly, right?
Yeah, it's really easy. You go to our website again, get.wa.gov, get.wa.gov. We have a very robust website that has all the information, frequently asked questions, all that you might want to know. We do have a call center that's open during the weekdays from 8 to 5. You can talk to a real live person that can help you, and that's 800-955-2318. That number is also on our website, and you can ask your individual question. But once you've decided to enroll in the program, it's very easy. You just need to assemble your own information. There's one purchaser and one student named on each account, so you want to know who those people are and what their Social Security numbers are, or you can enroll yourself. So, anybody, once an account's open, anybody can contribute, and anybody can open an account. So usually it's a parent or a grandparent.
Yeah, let's talk about that. So maybe you've got the whole family decided as a baby shower or something before the kid's even named. That can be done, right? You can get everybody in your family if you decide, hey, we're going to open a GET account for this baby. Don't give us toys and clothes that'll grow out of. We want something. You all plan that this baby's going to be successful. How does that work, and how can people keep track of, what do we call this? What do we do with my money? I want to give you $100. What?
Right.
Well, the easiest thing is for the parent to open the account, and before the child's born, they would just name themselves as the beneficiary. Anyone can gift to an account, so you could just give the account information to your shower guests.
So you say, we have an account at GET, and this is its number. You can give to it.
We've heard great stories about people who've done just that. Even birthday parties, they're throughout the child's year say, hey, instead of a toy or for Christmas, consider here's the account number. Consider taking that money, and it really adds up. The real trick is getting other people to add, especially grandparents. They want to help, they just don't know how, and they want to make sure it's going to college.
People from out of state, around the world can contribute. It doesn't have to be a Washington resident.
That's right.
Exactly. Just as long as the student beneficiary is either a resident or the person opening the account is a resident.
Okay.
At the time that you're...
So
grandparents out of state and grandchildren or parents that are in different states can open up accounts and maintain them. So, it's very, very flexible. and very portable and quite easy to open. We have several plans. We have a custom monthly where you decide how much you want to save over a period of time.
This is what I wanted you to keep
Right.
talking about this. Different ways people,
Right.
you don't just do it one time.
Right. You can set up a payment plan. You say, hey, I want to buy the value of 2 years of tuition over 10 years, and you have a locked-in monthly payment. You can pay as you go, where you say, okay, I got my tax refund. I'm going to pay now. I'm going to pay, every month $25. You do whatever you want to do. We've got, or a combination of both of those, which is what a lot of families do.
If you're hoping to get 100 units, which is a year's worth of tuition, done 4 times, a whole 4 years worth of tuition in maybe 10 or 15 years when this kid will be going to college, you can. There's different ways to model that and plan that out.
And a lot of easy ways to contribute, like payroll deduction,
excellent.
automatic withdrawal. We have electronic fund transfers. You can send us a check. There's a lot of really easy ways to contribute, and we really encourage families to think long term, have a plan, stick to it, be disciplined about it, put it in your budget. Don't do it as an afterthought. It's like, okay, we're gonna, here's the things we were planning, and one of them is we want you to go to college, and so we're gonna put aside this much money every month, and we're gonna add when you're out of diapers, and we're gonna add when you're out of preschool, and we're gonna continue working on this because our goal is to have 2 or however many years of college you want to have, or just your goal is to do what you can do. Every little bit is going to make a huge difference when you go to college.
And the flexibility of it too. When this kid is a toddler, not everybody's going to go to college. Not everybody wants to be some people want to go to art school. Some people want to go to cosmetic school. Talk about that. Or if they decide not to go to school at all, what happens? What are those potential?
Right. Well, it's always your money. It is participant money. There's no general fund money in this game at all. So it's your money. You can always get a refund. If you don't use it for college, you will have to pay tax on the increased value.
Then it's not tax deductible.
And then it's not taxable.
Okay.
And there may be penalties depending on the type of refund. There's always a no penalty refund for death or disability. But as scholarships, if your child gets a scholarship, you can get a refund for the amount of that scholarship with no penalty. So people say, well, what if my kid gets a free ride?
Yeah.
Good for you. You can use it for other things, or you can get a refund.
Yeah.
You can also transfer it on out to first cousin in relationship to the student named on the account. And so a lot of people do that. Or the other option is to wait. If you don't think the child's going to go to college, doesn't want to go to college, you can wait for up to 10 years. And a lot of times their situation will change where they'll say, yeah, now what I want to do, I do need some kind of training. And most of the jobs in the new environment are going to require some post-high school education.
So into their 20s that you can continue to hold on to it.
They can let it ride or wait and pass it on down to another family member later, or back to the account owner and go back and get their degrry. This is very, very flexible.
Excellent. So I can see, the grandparent back east. That's just a great way of getting the whole family behind the child. And something else you talked about is every year, or talking to the child themselves. How important do you think that is? Over
huge.
The life of the kid. Since starting the account early is really important, money-wise and compound interest-wise. How about the child in your house to say, you have a savings account for college? Is that a big deal? How does that?
It's huge. And there actually a couple years ago was a study by Washington University in St. Louis that did exactly that. They found that a child with a college savings account was 7 times more likely to finish their high school education and move on and to a post-secondary education of some sort.
No kidding.
It's not, and they said the amount in the account really didn't influence that number as much as you would think. That it was the messaging behind it. The parents saying, you know what, we believe in you. You're going to go to college, and we've put some money aside for you. That was enough motivation to keep that kid on track and to get them to take that next step to continue their education.
That's a great thing to hear. That's been backed up with some study and some data.
Yeah.
The encouragement throughout the whole life is not just a nagging.
No.
Because some kids, when they're 14, they don't want to hear the same thing from their parents over and over. But if they've heard it since they were 2, by the way, you're going to college. Did you see this check your grandpa just sent you for your...
This is happening after high school, yeah.
Yeah.
And then kids, like in my family, and I was raised with that culture too. It's just like, it's not if you're going to go to school, where do you want to go to school? It's just what happens after high school. You build that culture into your family, which is a huge part of it.
Just part of their being. I know I am going to college. It ends up being part of
what
their
do you
culture.
want to be? Don't worry about how we're going to pay for it. What do you want to do? What do you want to be?
Awesome.
Dream big. Yeah.
Well, we are going to run out of time before too long. What maybe did we forget to say, or what are the high points you want to make sure we hit again, or people that should know about GET, or this coming week as the enrollment period's going to end? I don't know, or Mariner game again. What's that?
All
That's
those
this Friday
things.
night. What? Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a week-long celebration. Yeah. No, I think the most important thing that we would want to reinforce is the fact that if you look at a child who's 9 years old, they're in third grade, and they're halfway to college. And when you put it in that perspective...
Wow.
Yeah. So many parents have that same reaction. And then we ask, well, are you halfway to your college savings goal? And it's like, whoa I need to get started. And so the best thing parents can do is just create a plan and start as soon as possible. Even if it's, we did the math the other day. If you put $5 away over the course of 10 years, you'd have $18,000 saved. And that doesn't take into any account any investment growth on that money.
Wait a minute, say that again?
So $5 a day saved
A latte.
over the course of 10 years would be over $18,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it can be a very little amount that adds up over time. And so the sooner you start, the more time you have for your money to work for you, right?
Right. Start early.
Start early and be disciplined. Stick with the plan.
Yeah.
Resist the urge to stop saving because you don't have any money left over at the end of the month.
Right.
I mean, really, it's all about priorities. We all know that in that middle income group, middle class group, we have student loans waiting for us. There's not going to be a lot of need-based aid. It's all going to be loans, and so everything you can do now to plan ahead for that is going to make a huge difference.
Yeah. I mean, we see more and more young parents who have graduated with all of that debt we've talked about. They're paying off their student loans, but they're already saving for their kids' education because they said, I don't want my kid to be stuck in this same situation I am in.
Wow.
And so that I think we see that more and more as we're out in the community.
Our kids now, that have that kind of debt, they don't want to see their kids with that kind of debt.
Yeah.
So they're really, they're becoming better savers than we were.
All right, so here's what I got. Start early. The earlier the better.
Right.
Because it pays off big time. Save what you can. Eat little bits. Ask for family and friends' help. On the birthdays, that sounds perfectly legitimate, right?
Yeah.
Especially these days. And I think what you talked about, reinforcing the idea that higher education is part of your life, sounds really cool. That sounds permanent.
And go to the Mariners.
Yeah, Mariners this Friday.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, thank you guys
It's all good. Yeah.
Thank you guys for being here. We have been talking with Betty Lochner, the director of our state's GET program, and Ryan Betts, the marketing and communications director. GET stands for Guaranteed Education Tuition. Betty and Ryan, thank you so much for being here today. And gosh,
Thank you.
A bigger thanks to what the state of Washington has been doing to help families and students get to college and get that higher education. Thanks so much.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I am Gary Shipe. Thanks for listening today. We hope you've learned something new. Join us again next week as we continue to talk with people that are making a difference in our community.